I've been living in a nightmare for more than 2 weeks now. I don't know what to do and I'm absolutely desperate for advice, which is why I'm posting this. I'll start at the beginning. Apologies for the long post. My wife, 41, has been having an affair with one of my best friends. I would call him my second best friend for a year. We have 4 children, 2 of whom are autistic, and we've been married for 17 years. She is Canadian but lives with me in England on a marriage visa. My wife and my friend have been getting very close for a few years now, as they have shared interests, e.g., going to the theater together, going to comedy clubs, drinking, partying, etc. They are both extroverts and enjoy having a good time, whereas I am more introverted and prefer to stay at home. He also has children, 2 boys aged 8 and 12, and our families have known each other and been incredibly close for about 14 years. My wife and I have had a great marriage. We have always felt that we were meant for each other. However, over the years, I've sometimes had a few problems performing in bed, which my wife usually responded quite negatively about, which made me feel worse about it. I'm probably also not quite as overly affectionate with her as she would like. I am definitely affectionate, compliment her, buy her flowers every so often, etc. But I know that she would want more than I give her on this front. Otherwise, our marriage has been genuinely fantastic, and I am in shock that this has happened. About 2 weeks ago, I saw a message pop up on her phone that she'd left on the couch. It was from my friend saying how beautiful she is and how is still thinking about the last time they were intimate. When I saw this message, I was so confused and shocked, and I kept trying to convince myself that it must have meant something else. But because I was suspicious, I checked her Maps timeline data that night while she was sleeping, and there was very damning evidence. The following night, I mustered all my courage and challenged her about it. She denied it over and over, gaslighting me. And then I showed her my evidence, and only then did she finally admit it. I begged her for the full truth, and she gave me a version of events that was, I later found out, very watered down. It took about 5 more days to get the full story, and that was mainly from my friend who'd decided to come clean with me and his own wife, who I had to tell, and she had no idea either. She was absolutely devastated, screaming, crying, etc. All in all, they had sex 7 times, with the time between the 5th and 6th time lasting about 5 months. And the whole affair lasting 13 months. They also kissed, held hands, and did much more whenever they had the chance of privacy in between, even when the families were together. It's also worth saying that their affair started about a week after I found out that my mom had been diagnosed with cancer and would need some invasive treatment, surgery, chemo, etc., and therefore I was scared about the prospect of losing her. My wife's dad died a few years ago, and so did my friends, and I of course stood by them both and supported them fully during this. It also turns out that she had told my friend and his wife about my performance issues, and that she had called me dull and boring. All this talking behind my back also really hurt me, as I'd never said anything about our sex life to anyone and never said anything bad about her behind her back. On the contrary, I have been her biggest supporter. The boring comment upset me because I work really hard for the family, and I'm involved in a lot of community and political work, which I feel is anything but boring. But I suppose she meant in the sense of not enjoying clubbing, drinking, partying, and being mediocre in bed. Now I don't know what to do. Should I separate from her, divorce her, or try to reconcile and fix our marriage? She wants me to go to therapy and for us to go to couples therapy, both of which I've agreed to. I'm scared to separate, and especially divorce, because it would devastate my children, who are still quite young, 5, 7, 10, 12, and my 2 autistic children would find the changes to their lives particularly distressing. I am also worried about living a lonely life. I'm the kind of person that needs a partner around them, as I get lonely fairly easily. I worry about things like getting ill alone or having an accident. I'm also 45 years old and not particularly attractive, whereas she is very attractive and would probably find someone else much more easily than me. There's also the fact that I still deeply care for her, and I already miss the life we had so much. The kids still don't know anything, and we're still living together, but our marriage is only what I can describe as in limbo. She assures me that she has never cheated on me with anyone else, although she does admit that she can drink too heavily sometimes when she is out, to the point where she is flirting with other people. But she maintains that she knows never to cross the line, and that it only happened with my friend because they developed a strong closeness over the years. But she is telling me that he will never speak to him again, that she's desperately sorry, and that she wants to be with me. So, I need advice, desperately. I'm a total mess and just don't know what to do. Should I work on the marriage for the sake of stability for the children and the hope that we can get back to where we were before and to avoid the fear of being alone? Or should I separate or divorce, which would have been financial consequences for me also? I've only given the abridged version here, so if you have any questions about any of the details or anything else, then I'll try to elaborate. Thanks so much. Edit, I just want to say, from the bottom of my broken heart, a huge, huge thank you for the outpouring of support, advice, and compassion you have all shown me. I'm truly overwhelmed. Thank you. Story 2. I haven't talked to anyone about this and it's just been eating away at me. Just needed to let it all out. Okay, so my wife is on a business trip and I miss her really bad in many ways, though very much so sexually. I don't like to masturbate to porn because of my beliefs. However, I am a visual kind of guy and it's hard to get off on fantasy alone. I remember that she had said she had nude pics of herself on her dead laptop. She did warn me that these were for another guy and that there were pics of him on there too. I figured I could handle this and decided to go digging for the pics using special recovery tools I have. So I find the pics and like she said, there was one of him on there. Now this guy was a married man going through a divorce when she met him. When I met her, she was sorta seeing him and I became the other man to the mistress of a married man. Kinda weird. Anywho, I got curious about their chatting history. So I proceeded to use some specialized software to decode the DAT file of her Yahoo profile's chat logs. I found several chats with several guys all months or years before we even knew of each other's existence. These chats were pretty explicit. Some were with guys she only met and chatted with online. Some with guys she knew in person. I found some that indicated she had been with 2 guys at once, something she had never told me about. In the chats with the married dude, I found out more information than I cared to know about their sexual relationship. He lived a long ways away BTW and she visited him and they had sex. I also found out that she had sex with an acquaintance of ours and screamed the married dude's name when the guy was inside of her. I already hated this acquaintance. Now I hate him more. She had told me early in our relationship that she had been raped by her first HS boyfriend. I of course was just glad she was comfortable telling me and trusted me enough to do so. I didn't ask for details. I found in the chats with her married dude that she wasn't raped vaginally, she was still a virgin when it happened, but rather anally. She told her BF she wasn't ready and so he anally raped her. She never told me this. We had tried anal before and she was nervous about it, though she suggested it. And now it makes sense why she was nervous. Had I known, I would probably never have agreed for fear of bringing up traumatic memories. I read a lot of the chats, but ended up stopping because I was getting sick to my stomach due to the thought of some other guy being inside of her. I know this is stupid because this was all way before we met, and she had told me about some things but didn't go into detail. Though I also at one point said that I didn't really want to know or hear about her past encounters, just Kina made me uncomfortable. I was a virgin when I met her, so I don't really have any past experiences to worry about. She was the second girl I ever kissed, and the second ever BJ. She also did tell me about the 2 guys incident in person. It somehow came up in pillow talk after sex. Turns out she was in bed with 2 guys and told them she felt like a slut and made one get out. He watched while the other had her. Again, I know this is stupid of me, but I can't stop thinking about her and some other dudes going at it. I realize this is my own feelings of inadequacies and that it is my own problem, not hers. I am getting over it, but it's rough. Update for anyone interested. We were talking last night and we ended up on the topic of our past encounters. Not sure how it started, but I think it had to do with the married dude calling her up out of the blue first time she'd talked to him on the phone since we got married. She only talked to him for a few seconds, said he was babbling about something and had no clue what he was talking about. I remained perfectly calm through it all. We had a great heart-to-heart and we talked about pretty much everything I had discovered, even the 2 guys thing. Better explained, I didn't tell her I already knew. Just let it come from her. I did let her know about my insecurities and fears that I won't be good enough or something. She assured me that has no grounds in reality. I even asked her why she ended up choosing me over the person she was already involved with. She explained that right off the bat she could tell that I could love her more and be a better man that she needed than he could. Because of his broken heart for his soon-to-be ex-wife, she knew that he could never give her the love that I could. He never loved her with the same passion. This was great to hear as well and was a great self-image booster. It was a great night. We spent hours just talking. The whole thing was very intimate and we both feel much better for having talked about it all. Thanks everyone who had constructive and honest advice. Sometimes the best advice is the most honest and hardest to hear.